brands, including Marlboro. And recently, Marlboro has boosted its global market share thanks to its worldwide Don't Be a Maybe, Be Marlboro campaign. And if you're thinking, what the f*** does Don't Be a Maybe mean? Please let this video by the people responsible for the campaign explain it to you.
As a brand, Marlboro was not resonating with adult smokers, even though its values of freedom, authenticity, and master of destiny were. Smokers missed the essence of the cowboy, which led us to our opportunity. Eliminate the word maybe from our smokers' vocabulary to become the catalyst that inspires smokers from just thinking about life to taking the lead in their life. To live the Marlboro values. To be true, bold, and forever forward.
That is a pile of horse shit. Even... think about it. Just think about this. Even Don Draper looks at that ad and goes, pull it back a little bit. These are cigarettes we're talking about, not Jesus. Now, countries can try to counteract the influence of that kind of marketing, but if tobacco companies feel too threatened, they'll put them through legal hell. Let me take you on a world tour of how they attack laws intended to protect public health, because it's kind of amazing. Let's start in Australia. In 2011, they passed a plain packaging law, and what that means is this.
Cigarettes come in packaging like this, pretty drab colouring, messaging the Australian government writes, pictures it chooses, the brand name there really relegated to the bottom.
Australia's plain packaging law banned tobacco company branding from packaging and replaced it with upsetting photos, such as the toe tag on a corpse, the cancerous mouth, the nightmarish eyeball, or the diseased lung. Now, yes, I'm pretty sure I would find a healthy lung disgusting, but that thing does look like you're trying to breathe through baked ziti, so just take that down. Just take it down. Perhaps unsurprisingly, since this law was implemented, total consumption of tobacco and cigarettes in Australia fell to record lows, and nightmares about eyeballs have risen to record highs. Take it down! Take down the demon eye! To get these laws, though, Australia's had to run a gamut of lawsuits. First, 2 tobacco companies sued Australia in its highest court to stop them. The result was a little surprising, as Australia's Attorney General let everyone know.
I'm delighted to be able to say that we have won that legal action, and just as some icing on the cake, it seems that the big tobacco companies will also be required to pay the government's costs.
Yes! Score one! Score one for the little guy. Even if that little guy is the 6th largest country in the world in terms of landmass. And the tobacco companies didn't just lose. The judges called their case delusive, unreal and synthetic, and said it had fatal defects, which sounds a little like the early reviews of NBC's The Slap. What is this thing? How long am I supposed to watch it for? Which one is The Slap? But Australia's legal troubles were just beginning, because then Philip Morris Asia got involved.
The company is threatening to take the Australian government to an international court and says that removing brands from cigarette packs will lower the value of its trademark and intellectual property.
That's right, a company was able to sue a country over a public health measure through an international court. How the f*** is that possible? Well, it's really a simple explanation. They did it by digging up a 1993 trade agreement between Australia and Hong Kong, which had a provision that Australia couldn't seize Hong Kong-based companies' property. So, 9 months before the lawsuit started, PMI put its Australian business in the hands of its Hong Kong-based Philip Morris Asia division, and then they sued, claiming that the seized property in question were the trademarks on their cigarette packages. And you've got to give it to them, that's impressive. Someone should really give those lawyers a pat on the back and a punch in the face, but a pat on the back first. Pat, then punch. Pat, punch. They need a pat, punch. Little pat, big punch. That's what they need. But wait, there is more here, because you will never guess who else is coming after Australia.
3 governments, Honduras, the Dominican Republic and Ukraine, have filed complaints with the World Trade Organization against Australia's plain packaging laws.
That's right. Ukraine is charging Australia with hurting its tobacco exports, something which was a bit of a surprise to a Ukrainian member of parliament.
When I first read about the position of the government, it seems to be a joke, because we have a zero trade exchange between Australia and Ukraine of any tobacco goods.
Zero trade. Zero. So Ukraine is inserting themselves into something they have nothing to do with. They're taking the Kanye West approach to international trade disputes. They're just wiggling in there. The truth is, as you have probably guessed by now, tobacco companies have encouraged these suits, even covering some of the legal costs, meaning the tobacco industry is treating Ukraine like a stage parent treats a child in a beauty pageant. Oh, no, Brandy wants to do it. Oh, yes, I paid for her outfit and I put pushed her onto the stage, but this was all her idea. And I swear to God, Brandy, if you drop that flaming baton, you are fucking walking home. You walk home, Brandy. And tobacco companies aren't just going after big countries like Australia.
Philip Morris has also launched a legal challenge against the small South American country of Uruguay for damaging its business prospects. Uruguay has a population of just 3.5 million people and is a relatively tiny cigarette market.
That's right. Philip Morris International is currently suing Uruguay, a country that you think about so little that you didn't even notice that that's not Uruguay, this is Uruguay. Now, the background here. 9 years ago, Uruguay started introducing increasingly larger health warnings. Smoking rates dropped, and Uruguayans liked the laws, with 68% of smokers saying that they should be stronger. But just because they wanted it hasn't stopped PMI from suing them for the past 5 years. And that's a lot for a small country to take on. Luckily, they have had help.
Uruguay has received the support of the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organization, as well as the mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg, who donated $500,000 for payment of attorney's fees.
The legal fees were getting so expensive they had to take money from Michael Bloomberg. On the scale of how shitty that has got to feel, it's just barely higher than borrowing money from your ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend's stepdad. And if forcing Uruguay to do that was not bad enough, let me tell you what Philip Morris International has done to Togo. Togo is one of the 10 poorest countries on Earth, and they recently unveiled some new tobacco laws.
Togo is setting conditions on the sale of tobacco. Starting on September 1st, 2014, packs of cigarettes sold in Togo must bear warnings in French, EV and cabier, about the health risk associated with the consumption of tobacco.
Now, at first, written warnings sound great until you learn that 40% of the adult population of Togo is illiterate, which is why some members of the Togolese government wanted something more like Australia's ZT lung packaging. Take it down, take it down, it's still disgusting. But when they got wind of this, Philip Morris International, a company with annual net revenues of $80 billion, basically threatened to sue Togo, whose entire GDP is $4.3 billion. And when your GDP is only a couple of billion more than the box office of Avatar, a protracted legal case is not really what you need. Now, we actually reached out to Togo and asked to see their correspondence with the tobacco companies, and they gave us this letter from PMI. We had to translate it from French, but it was worth it because this thing is almost comically appalling. It informs Togo that plain packaging laws would result in an incalculable amount of international trade litigation, suggesting Togo would lose any legal challenge by citing, among other things, an Australian High Court decision which they write concluded that plain packaging constitutes a substantial privation of property rights. Now, the court case they're referring to is the one from earlier. You remember, the one tobacco companies lost so badly they had to cover the court costs. And yet, they quote the one judge in that case who ruled in favour of tobacco, ignoring the other 6 who called their case, if you remember, delusive, unreal and synthetic, and saying it had fatal defects. That's like when a shitty movie engineers a good review out of a bad one, like Mordecai is a pile of ... great. This letter is bullshit. And yet, Togo, justifiably terrified by threats of billion-dollar settlements, backed down from a public health law that many people wanted. And it's not just Togo. British American Tobacco sent a similar letter to Namibia, and one of their subsidiaries sent one to the Solomon Islands, a country with a population of 600,000. At this point, it's safe to say, if you live in an apartment with at least 2 other people, and you ask one of them to please smoke outside, you can look forward to a letter from a tobacco company very soon. And look, I could get angry and I could call tobacco companies arseholes or monsters or open sores on Satan's dick. But instead, let's rise above it and let's try and broker peace. Because it's clear what each side wants. Countries want to warn their citizens about the health dangers of smoking tobacco. Tobacco companies want to be able to present branded images that they have spent time and money to cultivate. So may I suggest a compromise? I present to you the new face of Marlborough, Jeff the diseased lung in a cowboy hat. We are offering Jeff to you, Philip Morris International, to use as you wish. Put him on your billboards, put him on some ads. In fact, and don't be mad, we've already started doing that for you. This is an actual billboard that we have put up in Uruguay of Jeff the diseased lung. That is in Montevideo right now. And people seem to like it there, because of course they like it. Of course they like it. Everyone loves Jeff the diseased lung in a cowboy hat. Oh, one more thing. To be completely honest, we didn't just do it in Uruguay, because we also, and don't be mad, we made some Jeff-branded T-shirts and we shipped them to Togo yesterday, where they've been quite a hit. And if you don't believe me, check this out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Barbara, Jeff's already out there. You just need to claim him. Our lawyers, unlike yours, will not sue. And I know our viewers would love to help you get the message out there. In fact, you can tweet about Jeff using the hashtag #JeffWeCan to get him trending worldwide and get PMI's attention. Post Jeff's photo on Google Plus and tag him Marlborough, which might push him to the top of Marlborough's Google image search. We can do this, everyone. Don't be a maybe about this. In fact, who here would like to meet Jeff? Let's bring Jeff out. Come on, Jeff. It's Jeff. It's Jeff, everyone. It's Jeff the diseased lung. Look at him, Marlborough. He's not a maybe. He's not a maybe because he's definitely suffering from emphysema, aren't you, Jeff? Classic Jeff. And guess what, PMI? Even though, and I cannot stress this enough, you do not market to children, kids love Jeff too, don't you, kids? What do you say, Barbara? Let's make Jeff happen. That's our show. See you next week. Good night. Jeff, 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 Jeff.
Across the broad expanse of history, there have been billions upon billions of idiots, as well as a handful of smart people. We interviewed some of the latter group for our ongoing series, Great Minds, People Who Think Good. This week's People Who Thinks Good, Stephen Hawking.
Professor Stephen Hawking is a pioneering physicist, international best-selling author, and a popular guest character on The Simpsons.
If you are looking for trouble, you found it.
Yeah, just try me, you...
Oh! His breakthrough work on black holes and string theory is considered hugely important by anyone who pretends to understand it.
An expanding universe does not preclude a creator.
I travelled to the Department of Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics at Cambridge University to speak with one of the world's greatest living minds. First off, congratulations on being the first subject of our Great Minds series. Be honest, is this the single greatest honour you have ever received?
Yes.
Good. It's a little hard to read your tone of voice. When you say that, are you being sarcastic?
Yes.
I thought so. If there is one thing you want people to understand about your work, bearing in mind that most people will never understand anything about your work, what would that thing be?
Imaginary time. People think it's something you have in dreams, or when you're up against a deadline. But it's a well-defined concept. Imaginary time is like another direction in space. It's the one bit of my work science fiction writers haven't used, because they don't understand it.
Idiots. People are such idiots, because presumably, to my mind, you're simply talking about the theoretical measurement obtained from real time by a wink rotation of pi divided by 2 in a complex plane where t equals I times t. It's not that difficult to get your head around. Let's talk about artificial intelligence. In a recent op-ed column, you said, and I quote, "Success in creating artificial intelligence would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might also be the last." Are you saying for humanity? And is that a scientific argument or the pitch for an amazing movie?
Artificial intelligence could be a real danger in the not-too-distant future. It could design improvements to itself and outsmart us all.
I know you're trying to get people to be cautious there, but why should I not be excited about fighting a robot?
You would lose.
Well, OK, for a start, we don't know that, do we? Because what could a robot do that I couldn't then fight back with by simply just unplugging him, right?
There's a story that scientists built an intelligent computer. The first question they asked it was, "Is there a God?" The computer replied, "There is now," and a bolt of lightning struck the plug, so it couldn't be turned off.
Holy shit, that's the most terrifying story I've ever heard.
Yes.
Hold on. Who is talking to me right now? Is it you, or is it a sentient computer pretending to talk on your behalf?
It's me.
Yeah, but how do I know that, Professor? Because if computers had become sentient, what better way to convince people they hadn't than by co-opting the voice of the most intelligent man on the planet?
You're an idiot.
Yeah, but who's saying that, Stephen? You or the machine?
Both of us.
OK, all right. I mean, that's actually quite reassuring. You've stated that you believe there could be an infinite number of parallel universes. Does that mean that there is a universe out there where I am smarter than you?
Yes, and also a universe where you're funny.
OK, all right. Look, if you're so smart, what number am I thinking
13.
of? It was 13. I was thinking of 13. OK, that was a lucky guess. What am I thinking right now?
That you've been a huge disappointment to your family.
I wasn't thinking that. Why would I think that? No, I'm trying as hard as I can. Why is that so hard for them to understand, hypothetically? I wasn't thinking that. Let's do some quick yes or no questions. Are the following things technically possible? Life on other planets, is that theoretically possible?
Yes.
OK, what about a Schwarzschild wormhole?
Yes.
OK, what about this? Me going on a date with Charlize Theron?
No.
What, not at all? In no universe?
No.
In none of the infinite universes does that happen?
No.
It's completely beyond the bounds of scientific possibility, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Quick follow-up question. In any of those potential universes, am I the one rejecting her, and that's why it doesn't work out?
No. You do realize that typing a response is difficult for me, correct?
OK, sure, yeah. It's just I'm trying to play this out because I'm just trying to see if there was any hypothetical hope.
No.
It doesn't matter. But never say never. OK, if time travel were possible, would you want to go back in time and refuse to do this interview?
Yes.
You truly are an incredibly smart man. Stephen Hawking, thank you so much for your time.